3 years after marrying the richest man, my childhood sweetheart finally remembered his fiancée, pulling up to my house in a luxury car to propose marriage. Stella, if you hadn't insisted on waiting until marriage to be intimate, I wouldn't have ended up with your best friend. But then, despite Tiffany being 4 months pregnant, you still dared to lay a hand on her. I gave you 3 years to apologize, but you stubbornly refused to back down. If hadn't been so generous and convinced me to reconcile with you, I wouldn't have bothered setting foot in your house. Hands shoved in his pockets, Brandon looked like a carefree slacker, seemingly confident I would marry him. Perfect. Tiffany and I already have a 2-year-old son, and he's ready for early education. Once we're married, we'll have your mother, the university professor, help raise the children, and then your dad can give us half of his shares as a welcome gift. Anyway, you're so thin, you probably can't even have children, so you might as well invest in my son early on. His entitled look made me laugh in disbelief. Brandon, if you've lost your mind, go get help. Why are you acting like a lunatic in my home? This man had no idea that I had already married his rich uncle, and just 3 months ago, I'd given birth to a pair of twins. My visit home was precisely for the children's baby celebration. Seeing me curse at him, Brandon snorted, a just as I expected look on his face. Stella, I thought 3 years of waiting might curb your diva attitude, but you're still as arrogant and headstrong as ever. Good thing I didn't let you marry into the family sooner, or Tiffany and my son would have suffered. He casually made himself at home in the courtyard, shooting me a cold glance. Let me be clear, while you're my wife in name, Tiffany bore the family's eldest son, and her contribution is invaluable. She won't be leaving the family. After you marry in, be polite to her and her son, and learn from Tiffany how to take care of Eleanor and the children. I'm not dependent on you. If you don't perform well, I'll divorce you in a minute and make Tiffany my legitimate wife. Then we'll see where the family's reputation stands. I gave him a look of utter disbelief, as if he were an idiot. Brandon, what makes you think I still want to marry you? Isn't that obvious? Brandon rolled his eyes. Everyone in Riverton knows we've been betrothed since childhood. Given Hayes' family's status and influence, who would dare snatch a woman from my grasp? They must have a death wish. Besides, do you think your own qualities are so great? You can't even cook a meal. You're not gentle or virtuous at all. You're just somewhat attractive. Who else would be interested in you besides me? I smiled. You? Do you even have the right to say such things to me? While Hayes' family is indeed Riverton's richest, the family ranks as the second wealthiest. Moreover, the family's rise was entirely due to my husband, Marcus's strategic brilliance and foresight, and he holds 90% of the family's wealth. Brandon's father's side of the family had always been mediocre, simply living off inherited wealth until it was gone, yet always strutted around, acting superior simply because he was Marcus's nephew. In terms of family wealth alone, Brandon's family isn't even fit to carry the family's shoes. Brandon was enraged by my smile, jumping up from his chair and angrily pointing a finger at me, blustering and inwardly timid. Stella, don't think the family is so great just because you have a paltry sum of money. If you offend me, all I have to do is say a few bad words to Uncle, and I could bankrupt the family in 3 days and make them disappear from Riverton forever. My smile grew even brighter, tinged with a hint of anticipation. Oh really? Go ahead. Tell Marcus. Let's see who disappears. Me or you? Brandon didn't catch the sarcasm in my words. Thinking I was just putting on a brave front, he snorted, his tone softening, as if offering a great mercy. All right. We've had a childhood romance after all. No need to let it come to this. As long as you promise not to cause trouble for Tiffany and her son, and have your parents prepare a dowry of at least 200 billion, I guarantee I'll make you the lady of the family with all due pomp. The wedding should be sooner rather than later. Let's set it for 3 days from now. Before finished speaking, a solid slap landed on his face. Brandon, I was trying to preserve some dignity for the sake of our parents' friendship. Otherwise, just for what you've said to me, I could have someone break your legs right here. Now get out. I don't want to see you again. Brandon clutched the red mark on his face, but instead of showing any anger, he smirked triumphantly. Women just love to play hard to get. As the saying goes, a beating is a kiss, a scolding is love. Judging by how hard you hit me, you clearly love me deeply. Just a little marital fun. I won't hold it against you. Once I marry you in 3 days, I'll slowly teach you a lesson. He gave me a meaningful look. Then, without waiting for my reaction, he hit the gas and drove straight away. I was about to call Marcus when Eleanor happened to push the door open. Stella. What was that commotion just now? I found Brendan to be bad luck and didn't want my parents to worry about such nonsense. So I smiled and said, nothing. Just a stray dog barking madly. I've already chased it away. I didn't hear anyone kept a dog nearby, Eleanor said, looking at me doubtfully, then handed me a prescription. Robert needs a certain medication he takes regularly, and the butler and staff are busy preparing for the baby celebration. If you're free, could you go to the hospital and pick it up for him? I took the prescription and agreed. Unexpectedly, as soon as I arrived at the hospital, I ran into Brendan, who was walking out of the obstetrics and gynecology department, with Tiffany in his arms. Brendan, you just set a wedding date with Stella, and now I find out I'm pregnant again. Will this affect the alliance between your two families? Tiffany looked incredibly fragile, her face stained with tears. What does it matter? Just keep it secret from Stella for the next few days. Brendan chuckled, brimming with confidence. As long as Uncle remains unmarried and childless, I'm the sole heir of the family. What's wrong with having a few more children? No matter how unhappy Stella is, she'll just have to tolerate it. Tiffany frowned. But your uncle has been overseas for years. Who knows if he has a woman by his side? Brendan was about to say something when he looked up and bumped right into me. Stella, what are you doing here? After a brief moment of shock, Brendan's expression shifted to one of knowing contempt. Even if you're madly in love with me, you shouldn't secretly stalk me, should you? I don't like overly controlling women. However, since you've already stumbled upon Tiffany's second pregnancy, it saves us the trouble of hiding it from you. Now, come help Tiffany with her prenatal checkup. You'll be taking care of her after the baby anyway, so this is good practice. Tiffany, who had just been gentle and timid, now proudly puffed out her stomach at me. I couldn't be bothered to argue with the two of them, so I turned and walked towards the pharmacy. Reasoning with an idiot was a complete waste of time. As soon as I lifted my foot, Brendan rushed over and blocked my path, extending his arm to completely cut off the way. Tiffany leisurely followed behind him, one hand gently cradling her stomach, the other hooked around Brendan's arm. As her gaze swept over me, it was filled with triumph. Stella, why are you leaving? Brendan sneered. What? Did I hit a nerve? Nothing to say now. Ha! He stared at me, his voice confident. I'm telling you, stop pretending. Everyone in Riverton knows you've waited for me for 3 years, right? During these 3 years, you still had our engagement. Who would risk offending the family to pursue you? Only I wouldn't mind your bad temper and inability to do housework. Anyone else would have left you high and dry. I rolled my eyes internally. Wait for him? For the past 3 years, I had been busy honeymooning with Marcus and planning our wedding. Later, after I became pregnant with a pair of twins, Marcus spoiled me so much I didn't even have to pick up my own water glass. I had no time to think about a character like him. He must think he's an emperor, believing all women in the world revolve around him. Brendan didn't notice the mockery in my eyes, his tone becoming even more entitled. Tiffany is pregnant again and suffering from severe morning sickness. She threw up 3 times last night and barely got any sleep. Those maids at home are clumsy. They'd scald themselves just carrying a bowl of porridge. How can I trust them to take care of her? He then shifted his tone. Once you marry in, these things will be your responsibility. Every morning, you'll make a nourishing smoothie for Tiffany. In the afternoon you'll accompany her on walks. And at night, if she gets up, you'll have to follow her. If the baby cries, you'll have to comfort it. It's good practice, so you don't mess up when it's time to take care of people. Don't feel wronged, he added, as if bestowing a great favor upon me. As long as you take good care of Tiffany and the baby, I won't treat you poorly. You'll get a secondary credit card with a 300,000 limit each month. It's better than marrying anyone else. There are women lining up down the street who want to serve me, and they wouldn't even get a turn. I'm choosing you out of consideration for our childhood friendship. I couldn't hold back anymore and burst out laughing. Serve him? In all my life, Stella, I had only served my parents, and then Marcus. And even then, it was just handing him water twice when he was sick. As for the secondary credit card he mentioned, Marcus's unlimited credit card was in my bag, available for unlimited use. What need did I have for his meager offering? Brendan, I stopped laughing and looked at him. I suggest you save up some money and make an appointment with a neurologist. His face instantly darkened. What do you mean? Are you calling me crazy? Otherwise? I raised an eyebrow. The way your logic is completely muddled. If you don't get help, you and Tiffany might just have a few more brainless children like yourself. It would be an embarrassment to the family, and Marcus wouldn't be able to hold his head up. Those words completely hit Brendan's breaking point. He pointed at me and yelled, "Stella, how dare you mention Uncle? Believe it or not, I'll call him right now and tell him you're deliberately making things difficult for Tiffany and me." I smirked internally. Did he really think Marcus would listen to him? Last time Brandon tried to steal a project, Marcus ripped him to shreds and didn't even let him set foot in the house. Tiffany quickly grabbed Brandon's arm, gently trying to calm him. "Brandon, don't be angry. Stella is just being stubborn right now." She turned to me, a forced smile on her face. "Stella, I know you're hurting, waiting for Brandon for 3 years, and now having to accept me and the baby. Anyone would feel wronged." My heart did a little flutter. Can't have kids? I had just given birth to a pair of twins for Marcus 3 months ago. Although my stomach had recovered, I still had a bit of soft flesh around my waist, which was hidden by the loose dress I was wearing. If she knew that I not only could have children but had two, she'd probably faint on the spot. But there was no need to waste words with her now. Let her keep up the charade. "I don't want you to feel wronged either," Tiffany said, pulling a silver bracelet from her purse and holding it out to me. I looked down at it. The silver bracelet was pale green, but it had a distinct crack and its edges were worn. It clearly looked like it had been dropped, probably to avert disaster, and was now useless, which was why she was giving it to me. Brandon specifically went to St. Jude's Chapel to get this silver bracelet, Tiffany said softly. He knelt there for an entire month to obtain this blessed keepsake. I know you've always longed for Brandon's attention. Now that you're marrying Brandon, this silver bracelet is our wedding gift to you. Please take it, even though you're Stella and don't lack for such things. This is our sincere gesture, Brandon chimed in. Don't be ungrateful. Last time Tiffany missed a step on the stairs and was about to fall, but this silver bracelet protected her, preventing injury to the baby. Tiffany is giving you something so precious. So take it quickly. Don't disrespect our gesture. I rolled my eyes at them, then raised my left hand and pushed my sleeve up, revealing the silver bracelet on my wrist. That bracelet was made from the finest silver, personally chosen by Marcus. After half a month of carving with a chisel, he had created the intertwining floral pattern on it, with our initials carved inside. I have one. You don't need to trouble yourselves. Brandon leaned in for a look, first startled, then scoffed. This pathetic bracelet? Look at this carving, it's so crude it looks like it was chewed by a dog. The pattern is all crooked. Even the ones sold 3 for $10 at a street stall are better than this. Throw it away immediately. Tiffany's silver bracelet is the real treasure, worth far more than your junk. His fingers clamped down on my wrist like a vice, refusing to let go, squeezing so hard my bones ached. I quickly tried to pull away. Let go. This is mine. It has nothing to do with you. Brandon was unreasonable and yanked hard. I told you to throw it away. So throw it away. You will accept Tiffany's silver bracelet today. I struggled to pull back, but he tugged even harder. Suddenly, a faint click. The silver bracelet hit the metal railing beside us, and a crack immediately spread across it. My heart constricted. Brandon flung my hand away, and I lost my footing, stumbling back. The silver bracelet fell onto the tiled floor, shattering into 3 or 4 pieces. In that moment, I froze. I stared at the broken silver pieces on the ground, feeling both hurt and furious. Marcus had carved that with his own hands. He usually wouldn't even let anyone else touch it, and now Brandon had shattered it. I knelt down, reaching out to pick up the fragments. Brandon, are you insane? My husband carved this with his own hands. Brandon's arrogant expression crumbled immediately upon hearing my words. What did you say? You're married? I smirked internally. If he knew that my husband was his uncle, he'd probably be so scared his legs would turn to jelly. Brandon knelt down, picked up a piece of the broken bracelet, and examined it carefully under the hallway light. Soon, he saw the tiny letters carved on it. What's carved on this? SWX? LTS? SWX is Stella. But who's LTS? He stared at the 2 letters, muttering to himself, then suddenly seemed to remember something, and his face turned ashen. He angrily threw the broken bracelet to the ground, pointing at me, his voice trembling. LTS? Is it Leo? That Thompson who's always in bars, changing women like he changes clothes? I knew about Leo. He was a minor rich kid in Riverton who, relying on his family's small fortune, did nothing productive all day. Everyone in our circles knew his reputation was terrible. Brendan had actually confused Marcus's initials with Leo's. Well, he barely knew Marcus, so he probably couldn't even remember Marcus's initials. Stella, have you lost your mind? Brendan was shaking with rage, pointing at my nose and cursing. You'd rather marry a scumbag like Leo than marry me? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Deliberately finding such a disgusting person to anger me? Watching his furious outburst, I found him both ridiculous and pathetic. He still didn't know who he had provoked. He didn't know that the disgusting scumbag he spoke of was the uncle he couldn't afford to offend. He also didn't know that the silver bracelet he had shattered was a treasure Marcus had poured half a month of effort and dedication into carving. After cursing, Brendan stared at me for a few seconds, then suddenly seemed to snap back to reality, narrowing his eyes. No, you must be doing this on purpose. You're not married to Leo at all. You're just trying to provoke me, to make me care about you more, aren't you? He scoffed, a triumphant look on his face, as if he'd seen right through me. You waited for me for 3 years. How could you willingly marry a scumbag like that? Even if you acted foolishly, your parents would never agree. You're just pretending to be married, trying to make me jealous, trying to make me coax you, right? I almost laughed. His self-perception must be sky-high. Tiffany quickly chimed in, gently trying to persuade me. Stop messing around. Brendan still cares about you, or else he wouldn't have come to propose a wedding date. Everything she said hinted that marrying Leo was self-destructive, and that following Brendan was my best option. With her encouragement, Brendan became even more convinced that his guess was correct. All right, I know you're just throwing a tantrum. I don't blame you for these little games. It's because you like me, isn't it? He pulled out his phone from his pocket and opened the calendar. The wedding date will be as discussed before. Go back and tell your parents to quickly prepare the dowry. 200 billion cannot be less, and at least 60% of your father's company shares must be transferred. After all, you're marrying in to be the lady of the family. How can you manage without a proper family fortune? I'll pick you up in a couple of days. Just come with me obediently. He finished speaking, giving me no chance to retort, then turned and took Tiffany's hand. Tiffany, let's go. No need to waste time with her here and spoil your mood. Tiffany nodded meekly, casting a glance back at me before she left, as if victory was already hers. I stood there, watching their retreating backs, so exasperated I wanted to laugh. I truly wanted to shatter their dreams on the spot. But my phone rang. It was Eleanor. Stella, did you get the medicine? Robert just said he felt dizzy and wants to take it quickly for relief. Mom, I'll pick it up right away and head home. I quickly agreed, carefully placed the broken silver bracelet into my bag, and hurried towards the pharmacy counter. After picking up the medicine, I went straight home. Entering the door, I saw Robert sitting on the sofa, and Eleanor was handing him water. I quickly gave him the medicine and helped him find the correct dosage. You were at the hospital for so long. Nothing happened, did it? Eleanor asked, seeing my less than cheerful expression. No, Mom, just a small problem that's already resolved, I replied. I didn't want them to worry, so I didn't mention the broken silver bracelet or Brendan's unreasonable antics. Over the next 2 days, I was busy beyond belief preparing for the baby celebration. Marcus also returned from his business trip. In the blink of an eye, it was the day of the baby celebration. The villa's courtyard was filled with flowers and balloons. Guests arrived steadily, and the butler and staff were busy attending to everyone. It was a lively scene. Just then, a car pulled up to the entrance. Brendan stepped out of the car, carrying a gift box, and walked straight into the courtyard. Where's Stella? He exclaimed loudly as soon as he entered, his eyes sweeping over the courtyard's decorations. Then he snorted dismissively. I didn't expect you to be so thoughtful, knowing I'm coming to pick you up today and making such a lively scene. Robert happened to be greeting guests nearby. Hearing this, his face instantly darkened. Brendan, what are you talking about? Today is my grandchildren's baby celebration. Who told you to come pick up a bride? Brendan froze for a moment, then frowned in annoyance. Baby celebration? Still pretending? He turned to look around. Everyone, look! Stella has waited for me for 3 years, and today she's finally marrying me. Her parents are deliberately calling this a baby celebration. Afraid of losing face, the guests were all stunned, turning to look at him, their eyes full of confusion. Brendan grew even more triumphant, walking up to Robert, his tone arrogant. Uncle, there's no need to hide things anymore. Stella has liked me for so many years. Even if you don't approve, you can't hinder her happiness. He pointed to the gift box in his hand. I've brought the betrothal gifts today. As long as Stella comes with me, the family will definitely support the family in any future matters. And, he added, the dowry we discussed, 200 billion and 60% of the shares, you must have it ready. Don't let me lose face in the family. Robert's face turned pale with anger. He pointed to the door. Get out! Today is a special day for our family. Don't come here and cause a scene. Cause a scene? I'm here to pick up my fiancé. Where's Stella? Have her come out. She's waited for me for so many years. And today I'm here to give her legitimacy. But she's hiding? She doesn't need your legitimacy, Robert said coldly. My daughter and son-in-law will be here shortly. You need to leave now and stop making a spectacle of yourself. Son-in-law? Brandon was stunned, then burst out laughing. Uncle, you're joking with me. Who doesn't know Stella loves me desperately? How could she possibly be willing to marry another man? Robert couldn't be bothered to argue with him further and instructed the bodyguards nearby. Escort him out. Don't let him bother the guests here. 2 bodyguards immediately stepped forward, grabbing Brandon's arms and dragging him out. Brandon struggled, shouting, Stella, come out here. If you dare marry Leo, I won't let you get away with it. I'll bankrupt the family. Just then, a Bentley slowly drove in and stopped at the courtyard entrance. The bodyguards took the opportunity to drag him out of the courtyard and closed the gates. Brandon was dragged to the roadside, looking at the closed gates, so angry that he punched the car. He got back into his car, his face utterly grim. Back at home, Tiffany eagerly greeted him, her face full of anticipation. Brandon, how was it? Did agree to marry you? Brandon grumpily threw the gift box onto the sofa. Agree to what? For crying out loud. If you hadn't gotten pregnant back then, I would have married her ages ago, and none of this would be happening. Now, she's actually married. I won't be getting any of the family's assets. Tiffany's face instantly changed. Brandon, don't be angry. Maybe was just confused for a moment. She still cares about you. Confused for a moment? Brandon's eyes lit up. Yes, she must be confused for a moment. Leo is just a playboy. He definitely won't have time for her. She'll regret it sooner or later. He stood up and paced back and forth in the living room. No, I can't give up just like that. Stella must marry me, and the family's assets must be mine. The baby celebration ended late at night, but the lights at Rosewood were still on. The little ones had been entertained by guests all day, and now their tiny brows were furrowed, soft cooing sounds escaping their lips. I carefully placed them in their cribs, tucked in their blankets, and then turned to leave. Marcus leaned against the bedroom doorframe, his gaze falling on my empty wrist, his voice deepening. Where's your silver bracelet? I took out the small box containing the broken silver pieces from my bag and handed it to him. At the hospital earlier, your nephew shattered it with his own hands. I recounted everything that happened at the hospital from beginning to end. The warmth in Marcus's eyes completely faded, replaced by cold glints. But he still took my hand first and gently massaged the red mark on my wrist. It's good that you weren't hurt. I'll carve you another silver bracelet. You don't need to worry about Brandon. I'll handle him. I nodded, knowing he was a man of his word. Brandon certainly wouldn't escape this time. The next evening, the family was packed with cars outside. Marcus was hosting a family gathering. So naturally, all members of the family, immediate and extended, were present. Entering the living room, several elders were seated at the head, sipping tea. Seeing us enter, they smiled and waved us over. I followed Marcus, chatted with the elders for a while, and mentioned how well-behaved the little ones were. The elderly beamed with delight. After talking for about half an hour, I felt a little tired and told Marcus I would rest in the side lounge. As soon as I sat on the sofa, I heard footsteps behind me. Turning around, I saw Brandon. Stella, I didn't expect to see you here too. I frowned and leaned back. Is something wrong? Of course. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. I've thought it over these past 2 days. I was wrong before. I shouldn't have made you feel wronged. Divorce Thompson and be with me. I promise I'll only treat you well from now on. I'll arrange for Tiffany and her son to live in another house, so they won't disturb you at all. I almost choked on a laugh. My husband and I are perfectly happy. Why would I get a divorce? Be with you? What makes you think I'd choose you? What makes me think? He looked as if he'd heard the funniest joke. Because I'm the family heir. Because I like you. Leo is just a waste of space who's always in bars. What can he give you? I can give you the title of Mrs. Hayes, let you spend the family's money freely, and even help the family secure more partnerships. He grew more agitated as he spoke. Stella, stop wasting your time with that useless man. I'll take you to get the paperwork done right now. I'll overlook your marriage to him. I quickly moved aside, barely avoiding his hand, when a cold voice came from behind me. Brandon, you're quite bold. Marcus stood at the side lounge entrance, his eyes icy. Brandon's hand froze in midair, his face turning pale. You Uncle Marcus? What are you doing here? This is the family. Can't I be here? Marcus walked over to me, shielding me behind him. You, on the other hand, dare to have designs on my wife. Your aunt? And my aunt? Brandon looked as if he'd been struck by lightning. Stella is your wife? Then what about Leo? Who is Leo? What does he have to do with me? Marcus scoffed. LTS are my initials, not the useless man you mentioned. Brandon's legs went weak, and he immediately fell to his knees, slapping himself hard across the face with both hands. Uncle, I was wrong. I truly didn't know Stella was your wife. If I had known, I wouldn't have dared even with 100 times the courage. He crawled to Marcus's feet, his face smeared with snot and tears. Uncle, please spare me this one time. I'll never dare again. I'll never have designs on Stella again. Marcus stepped back in disgust. Guards. 2 bodyguards immediately entered, standing respectfully to the side. Sir, help him up. Marcus's voice was icy, kneeling like that in front of so many relatives. What kind of spectacle is that? The bodyguards helped Brandon to his feet, but he was still trembling all over. Marcus looked at him, speaking indifferently. Brandon, you have repeatedly disrespected my wife, shattered the silver bracelet I personally carved for her, and even dared to try and sow discord between us. He paused, his gaze sweeping over the relatives gathered at the doorway, then continued. Starting today, I am revoking all your family privileges, reclaiming all Hayes family assets under your name, and permanently removing you from the family records. At this, Brandon's eyes rolled back, and he nearly fainted, only held up by the bodyguards. Uncle, no! I was wrong. My parents are counting on me. You can't remove me from the records. If your parents can't teach you, I will. Marcus's tone showed no signs of softening. Drag him out. He is forbidden to step foot in the family again, and he is not allowed to tell anyone he is a Hayes family member. The bodyguards dragged Brandon out. Uncle, I was wrong. Spare me. His voice faded into the distance, eventually disappearing completely. The side lounge fell silent. The relatives at the doorway all lowered their heads. No one dared to speak. Marcus turned around and reached out to ruffle my hair. Were you scared? I shook my head, unable to help but smile at him. No, I just think Brandon got what he deserved. We walked out of the side lounge. The guests in the living room had returned to normal, no one mentioning what had just happened. Several elders smiled and waved us over, continuing to chat about the children's amusing antics. The atmosphere quickly grew lively again. I leaned against Marcus, knowing that with him by my side, even the most absurd troubles could be easily resolved. A few days after the family gathering, I was in the living room playing with the children's rattles when Marcus's assistant knocked and entered, holding a document. He also mentioned Brandon's situation. Mrs. Marcus, Brandon hasn't been doing well lately. The assistant's tone was flat. After Marcus revoked all his privileges, Brandon went back and had a huge fight with his parents. His parents disowned him, saying he'd shamed the family, and kicked him out of the house. Now he has no place to live, let alone an income. The rattle in my hand paused, but I wasn't surprised. Given's parents' opportunistic nature, they wouldn't keep a son who was no longer useful. What about Tiffany? Is she not with him? I asked casually. Tiffany didn't argue with him. She just left a message the day she left. The assistant added. Tiffany said she'd had an abortion and that an idiot who couldn't even support himself, let alone be a father, didn't deserve to be the baby's dad, and to never contact her again. I raised an eyebrow, surprised that Tiffany was so decisive. But then again, it was normal. Her original goal with Brandon was the Hayes family's status. Now that Brandon had fallen from grace, she naturally wouldn't cling to him, wanting to get as far away as possible. 2 days later, there was a commotion at the gates of Rosewood. I had the bodyguards beat him and throw him out. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support is the greatest motivation for us to share more stories of women's power. This is Love and Fist.